Governor Wolf is outlawing snow days, and Realogy is suing Compass. Check out Toole Time right now. I'm Tom Toole. She is Jess Lyon. We are back with another hot episode of Toole Time. We got an extra topic today because there's so much going on in the real estate world right now. Pretty exciting.
Very busy.
Let's start local like we always do. Stick with the format. That seems to work. And if you don't think so, tell us otherwise. So Governor Wolf, that's the governor of Pennsylvania if you're not local and watching this. So Tom Wolf, he signed a new bill in the beginning of July that will allow schools to force students to work from home when there's a snow day. So all our friends in like California and Florida, you probably don't care. Snow days are a big part of culture here, of the lifestyle here. So Jess, what do you think about all this?
So, a bunch of kids are probably going to hate me. My sister might hate me. She's still in school, but I'm about it. I actually think that this is a good idea. The schools can opt in, and I really think it's a case-by-case basis because there are some families that don't have the technology available. But I think that you have 180, I'm pretty sure, mandated days that you have to be in school. Mm-hmm. They can only do up to 5, like flex days as they call it. So, do your work from home in the morning, get it done, the lesson plan that the teacher lays out, and then go out in the snow later or on the weekends. I think it cuts down on the days that you're going to have to be in school longer in the summer. Like towards the end of June, it's really hot. You're barely learning anything anyway. So just get them done and then go out. I am really liking this plan.
So it makes sense on a couple levels. I look at the learning aspect first and foremost, and it's like when someone says, hey, I'm going to work from home today, and they're supposed to come to the office, what invariably happens, they're probably not as productive, no question about it. I mean, not everyone, most people. I don't think that's an unusual thing. The issue I have is, maybe I'm dating myself here. When I was in school, we were getting out in like May, and these kids go to school like June 18th is the last day of school. So, or it was at least in our kids' school district. So I think it kind of stinks they're in school that long. So if that would get them out earlier, I would like this a lot more.
Sure.
How many snow days do we really have? I think last year there was 2.
We don't have too many.
The previous year there was 1. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then a couple winters ago it was like every week. So I think that's where it's more appropriate.
You probably know better. You're a dad.
Well, I am, but my kids didn't go to school until this year.
Yeah.
So it was like daycare, which is a little different, and you're not driving them there anyway. So the point is, when you see this, I know that most school districts allot a certain amount of days off for bad weather. So if it goes past the allotment, that might make more sense. The fact they can opt in, that leaves it up to the leadership, because the reality is, too, that we've seen this here where we got people that live on like the edge of Chester County all the way into the main line. Like they have like 3 inches in some places. I don't even have any snow on the ground in my neighborhood, and vice versa. So from that aspect, it does make sense. I mean, I'm all for giving the kids more time off in the summer when it actually counts. Like 1 snow day's cool, 2's not bad, then 3 or 4 you're stuck inside the house and it starts to suck pretty bad. I mean, cabin fever is a real thing when you have kids.
You need to get the work done for sure.
Well, I'd rather have the time off in the summer if I was a kid. That's my take on it. So,
I heard that it might be leading to going to school in the summer. I'm just kidding.
I was like, did you read the same article? Am I hallucinating here? So
I think they did mention something about it, though. Like people in the comments, people were worried about having to go to school all through the summer. This leads to that, and there's no summer break at all. I don't think that'll happen.
The way they ended the article was, in the meantime, Philly kids should probably just continue enjoying the summer while they can, and childhood, which is whatever. If you're relying on the comments for your news, I would question.
I like to see what people say. I like to see how people react.
What they're saying is different than actual news. I mean, that's more my point. So it sounds like we're, I think, a close agreement here. Not all the way, but close enough. We'll give it a thumbs up. So I'm really interested in these next couple of topics. So the next one here, and I think this is more in my wheelhouse than Jess's, is Keller Williams came out, and this was a couple days ago. So Keller Williams is integrating with DocuSign, an e-signature and transaction management platform. If you don't know what it is, it's people can sign on their phone, sign electronically, and they are integrating with that in their Keller Cloud so they can make an end-to-end platform, which apparently they have and nobody has seen yet. So they're integrating with DocuSign, and I've got some real clear thoughts on this. Tell me your take on this.
Well, when I was reading this article, it kind of sounded just to me like Keller Williams is teaming up with DocuSign, and this makes them the leader of tech in the entire industry. But I feel like a lot of agents do use DocuSign or .loop or some type of electronic signing to make it easier for your clients and keep everything organized. So I just really didn't think there was anything huge about that or anything that really significant that this makes them the leaders in tech. I did read as like part of the article that they were going to be using AI to see if they could look at probability of getting their offer accepted and make their offer better. I think that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it'd be pretty interesting if it existed.
But it doesn't.
I don't know if that exists yet. Here is what I find the most interesting about this article, and you probably didn't get it because you didn't hear this. So
Yeah.
I was at the T3 Summit in San Diego this spring, and they have all these CEOs from all over the country there. So the lineup is like Richard Barton from Zillow, Gary Keller from Keller Williams, and he rarely speaks outside a Keller Williams event. So that was pretty interesting. There's only about 500 people in the room. The CEO of Realogy was there, Home Services, Compass, number of people. And Gary got on stage, and he was the fifth speaker. So it was after Richard Barton, after Home Services, Realogy, and Compass. So all the CEOs there. And he was the fifth speaker after the break. And this was what he said was, hey, you didn't see Amazon buy or partner with another technology. They built their own. So I find this very ironic that he's getting in front of all the CEOs in the real estate world and talking about how great their platform is that no one still hasn't seen yet, to be super clear. And maybe it does exist. Maybe it is great. I know that when you have tech, your beta should be embarrassing and no one's seen it yet. So when he comes up on stage and says that, and to me that was a very clear, hey, Compass, why did you buy contactually sort of comment. I mean, that's how I took it, and a lot of other people in the audience took it the same way. And then seeing this happen, I find it very ironic. What I also know is that these signature programs work. When DocuSign rolled out, and this had to be, I think it was like 2006, maybe 2007. I'd have to look it up. I just remember when I got it. That was the exciting thing to me. And I'm not sitting there like,
what is this?
Well, I'm not scanning paper in my scanner in my condo at the time and saying, hey, can you mark it up here and all this stuff. And then people don't have scanners or they're trying to fax it back. And so and DocuSign was revolutionary to me. I mean, that saved me so much time. And now we use .loop. I found .loop is more in line with what we need as a team. It seems to be a better platform for us. I'm not saying DocuSign's probably evolved since we stopped using it, because that was about 3 or 4 years ago that we adopted .loop. I think it's right when you joined the team. We were right.
We used DocuSign for a little bit, then we switched.
Yeah, so, and that's only because we got it free from the Board of Realtors. So the point is, these things work, and when I see a CEO get up on stage and say that, and then a few months later partner with, well, why didn't he design his own? You know why he didn't design his own? Because this one works pretty well. So I find this very interesting, and I'd love to actually see the platform that they're talking about, because I've heard so much about this, and nobody's seen it yet.
I mean, I feel like they keep on throwing these great, like, this, we're going to have this AI, and we're going to do this, but like you're saying, where is it?
There's a stupid amount of money going into technology right now in real estate. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's all kinds of competing companies. People are looking for like VC funding. There's so much going on. Someone's going to win probably in the next like 12 to 18 months. The issue still remains, are they going to use it? Now, this will get used, because when was the last time you actually saw like a hand-signed contract? Usually I have
never.
So I have some older clients that I'll meet with. They'll want to come in and sign. Besides that, I mean, that's just because they feel more comfortable, and that's us giving the right service, and we have them come to the office.
Right.
Or when I'm on the listing appointment and actually get the listing signed on the spot, which is my preference. Besides that, I mean, rarely are you seeing. Now, occasionally I'll get like a hand-signed agreement, but it's not the norm. It's less than 5% of the time.
I'll let you know when I get one.
Okay, well, that's because we train you to use electronic stuff, and then it's more on the listing agent side. So this is really interesting to me, and I so clearly remember those comments from the T3 Summit out in San Diego. So I find this a little ironic, and it just goes to show you that you better be careful what you say, because the tech race right now is very real for these companies. And what's going to happen, I'm super clear on this, is Keller Williams is competing with like Compass and Coldwell Banker and Remax and all these big companies. That's not who they should be competing with. To me, it's the real estate brokerages on one side, and then companies like Zillow and Realtor.com on the other. That's who they should be competing with.
Rather than with each other.
They're competing with each other, yeah, because the reality is Keller Williams isn't going to be for everybody in terms of an agent. Remax isn't going to be for everybody. Compass is the same way. There's going to be people that go independent. The technology isn't going to attract enough people if the money's not right with the brokerage.
You need to switch who you're shooting at, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're shooting at each other, but competing with. So, interesting stuff here. So, I don't know if there's an agreement or disagreement on this one. I just find this very interesting.
Very interesting.
So, topic number 3. So, we got a heavy plate today and more national brokerage news. So, Realogy is suing Compass. So, Realogy, if you don't know who Realogy is, they are a real estate holding company, and they own Century 21, Coldwell Banker, ERA, Corcoran, Sotheby's. There's a number of parent companies. So it's a number of big brokerages that you may think are independent, but they're owned by the same company. Kind of like how Zillow owns Trulia, right? It's now Zillow Group. So Realogy filed a lawsuit with the Supreme Court of New York against Compass over unfair business practices and illegal schemes to gain market share at all costs. And Compass has come out and said they have a goal of gaining 20% market share in the top 20 markets by 2020. It's a lot of 20s to reach its desired ends. That's their goal. So, Jess, what do you think about all this? There's more than just this article involved here. But
yeah, we were talking about it, and Realogy is suing Compass for this, and this. But reading through other articles and looking at other lawsuits, it looks like to me that they are being sued on the other end by a ton of different investors, different companies for, antitrust lawsuits, things like that. So why are you going after someone else? Maybe you should focus on, what are some of the other lawsuits that people are...
So the biggest thing right now, I mean, there's been a couple class action lawsuits that have come out accusing NAR and other MLS providers of driving up seller costs. The third one just dropped, and
today,
that was
right?
It was a couple days ago.
Okay.
At least news of it dropped. These things aren't filed right away. So it's a class action suit against Realogy for securities fraud, and the plaintiff is alleging that Realogy investors purchased securities at inflated prices because of the brokerage's failure to disclose the issues with this practice. So, and then the Rosen law firm is who filed the suit, and they filed the suit in the District Court of New Jersey, U.S. District Court. Realogy filed false and misleading statements with the SEC, which is a big no-no, by not disclosing that it was engaging in anti-competitive behavior by requiring property sellers to pay a buyer's broker an inflated fee. So it's kind of tied to that bigger lawsuit of you have to pay these fees to buyer's agents, which is not true. You don't have to do it. I want to be super clear on that. We've talked about this lawsuit before.
Right.
So then the next piece of interesting news is BlackRock just upped their percentage of shares that they own in Realogy from 8 to 16%. So BlackRock is an investment firm, obviously. If you don't know who they are, Google them. So there's all this stuff going on with Realogy right now, and
I feel like they're trying to divert attention away from themselves.
Maybe. I mean, at Compass right now, I mean, they're recruiting heavily. They've recruited a lot of agents in our marketplace, and that's fine. I mean, we recruit people too, so whatever. I don't know that anything they did was anti-competitive. When you look at the lawsuit, there's a lot of opinions out there that apparently Robert Refkin, the CEO of Compass, personally solicited Realogy to enter into an illegal price-fixing agreement, and that's mentioned in the complaint. I don't really know how true that is. So there's all this stuff going on. So it kind of is a follow-up to that Keller Williams story, right? And what I see here is this. Look at Realogy's stock prices. And this is what we talked about. And I was at T3 again, and the CEO of Realogy was asked, what's going on with your stock? Very clearly. So in January, the stocks were trading at $15.24 a share, and that was at the beginning of the year, January 1st. In May, the shares were selling at $13. Now they're at $5.45. So you're looking at a 1/3 valuation in stock price of where it was back in January. So obviously the investors cannot be happy there. And all this tells me is there is turmoil in the company. That's all that's going on. And, if they got poached from Compass, my view of this, whether or not this lawsuit makes anything, and Compass has been sued by a lot of people, what I see here is that this is a company that needs to get its own house in order
before they start.
Well, if they're suing because they lost agents. That's when they lost agents, they lost talent, they lost employees. That happens all the time in any business.
Right.
Now, I don't know what the NDAs look like, the documents signed by these people look like. That's not my point.
Right.
This is clearly a company that is having some challenges right now, and the investors are saying so. And then BlackRock. The only indicator with BlackRock here is BlackRock may feel like it's an undervalued stock right now if they're doubling their investment. So all this stuff is going on. To ask the question here for the show, what do you think the validity is in the lawsuit?
I think you would have to look at exactly what the agents, kind of their compete, I guess, clauses were, what they signed when they, like how they were being recruited by Compass. You have to look a little bit deeper, like you said, into it. But I feel like you said, agents get recruited all the time. So I don't really think I don't think it'll go anywhere, the lawsuit.
So they're saying that they got like confidential information to recruit Realogy affiliated agents, and they're saying that Compass instructs and encourages its recruits to interfere directly with existing contracts, which is that's a big accusation to make for sure. These are things that, if they're true, this is not good for Compass. Open and honest competition is part of the business. So, interfering with a contract's a big deal. Compass has been sued by a lot of people because they're growing fast. People get sued all the time. It doesn't mean it's a real suit or not. We talked about how we didn't see a lot of validity in the lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors, naming all the brokerages because of the buyer-broker fee that's required, which, again, is not. It's hey, you want to sell your house, maybe you need to offer something out. So all I'm seeing here is there's an excessive amount of lawsuits going on, and if I'm not running these companies,
Yeah, like everybody's suing
I'm running our
everybody.
team, I'd be focused on what I can do to gain more market share, not what other people are doing to hurt me. And when a lawsuit's appropriate, it's appropriate. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not a litigious or anti-litigious person. You have to look at the facts. There's a lot going on here, and Realogy is a company that's in a little bit of turmoil right now. I mean, that was the first question at the T3 Summit. They said, what's wrong with your stock price? What's going on there? And that's a hot seat to be on in front of all the CEOs across the country of real estate firms and these big companies. So
What's the next lawsuit?
who knows? I mean, I'm just going to keep trying to sell more houses.
Keep track of it.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens here, and this kind of reinforces that there's so much inter-competition between the brokerages.
Right.
They may not see the real competition. That is my view on both these stories. That's why we kind of grouped them together.
Yeah.
Is that, if I'm running RE/MAX or Keller Williams or Compass or Realogy, what are we doing to insulate ourselves from having to pay excessive referral fees to Zillow on all their leads? Like, what are we doing there? Like, how can we beat them at their own game? Not how can we take down the competition that we may end up. I mean, these companies all weren't independent. Realogy was not. They didn't not own all these companies. Initially Century 21 was separate, Coldwell Banker were separate, and then someone bought them all. So I see some short-sightedness in the actions that are being taken right now.
We'll see where it goes.
All right.
How about our quote for the day?
Enough real estate talk. What do you got?
Gary Vee, my guy, is skills are cheap, passion is priceless. And I can't agree more. I think skills you can acquire. You can teach me to do anything that you do, but if I don't have the drive or the passion or the heart or the interest behind it, you're not going to get anywhere. I guess making sure that you're cultivating that passion and making sure it's there and continuing to learn about your craft and really set your goals. I think that's going to fuel your passion, but you can teach anybody skills. That's my point here.
Yeah, skills. I mean, there's people I've seen that are really talented that don't want to work, and then they don't do well. I mean, we've had this conversation about people we know. I mean, that they may sound great on the phone, and then they don't call anybody. So to that point, I agree. I mean, if you don't, we've talked about this before. If you don't like what you're doing, it's not going to really matter.
We've talked about why are you doing what you're doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, and if you don't like what you're doing or really love what you're doing and really passionate about it, it's not going to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you might need to find something else that you're passionate about. And then I had this conversation. This is not like real estate or business specific. I mean, if skills can be acquired, and there has to be some natural talent to a certain extent. I mean, realtors, there's some people that just can't close, right?
Sure.
I mean, we've talked about this,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's any question that skills are cheap, but some people just can't do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't the right business for them. Our back end staff probably wouldn't want to do what we're doing because I mean they'll be the first ones to tell you.
But they
so
are skilled.
they're skilled, but
They're very
not.
skilled.
But they some of them would not be comfortable in a closing
Right.
sales position. So, but getting better at it and improving it and working on your scripts, your dialogues, that sort of stuff, right? So that's where it's cheap. I mean, it's not cheap. It's sweat equity. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It's all sweat equity. You got to put the work in. Passion. I mean, if the most passionate people are the ones that win.
I feel like a lot of people get caught up on what is my passion? What am I passionate about? Do I really like this, or am I just good at it, or am I passionate about it? I feel like how would you decipher if you're passionate about it or not?
So, well, that's where you got to get to the emotion,
Yeah.
right? So, someone may say, I want to sell, I don't know, 100 homes a year, 200
Yeah.
homes, or I want to build the biggest tech company that helps people not have to buy their groceries,
Yeah.
right? So what's that going to do for you? Like what? And then you have to go deeper because it's not tied to emotion. If you don't really believe, like there's fundamentally has to be some reason you're doing something. So I've been able to hone in on this.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about, I believe, and I am really clear that a great real estate agent is helping people because there are
You say
so
it all the
many
time.
bad agents out there. And I've worked with a lot of their clients because their homes come off the market and they don't know what to do. There are so many bad agents out there that these people need help. Sometimes you get a client where they've got a financial issue they've got to solve. They've got to move because their spouse already relocated and they're in another state. You're helping that person.
Yes.
Like, and it may not seem that way a lot of times. I know fundamentally I'm helping them, and that is a passion because getting into a bad situation financially is going to hurt you a lot more than if you make a business decision, look at it, and get out of it. So Gary, we both follow Gary Vee, even though he doesn't think home ownership matters. So, he's, I've read his books, and you look at him, he was an immigrant. He was working at a liquor store, grew that company to a $5 million a year company, and now he's got a big ad agency. So, he's obviously passionate about.
He has a passion for the grind.
Well, and he has a passion for understanding how to use social media properly to reach out cheaper and build a brand without and through content, not through spending money and buying TV ads. So, great quote.
Find your passion, use the emotion.
Cool.
Awesome.
Catch you guys next week. Stay cool.